that we had hoped to have today and tomorrow, but we heard resoundingly from many of those in our processing community along the Front Range and Mountain West that this was a really challenging time of year. Obviously, a lot of variables related to cost, et cetera, are making or travel difficult, and getting away from your processing facilities is always a bit of a struggle. And so we are hoping to capture some feedback today that will inform the future versions of the Mountain Meat Summit that we're planning for the fall of 2026. But grateful for your time this afternoon and hopefully to share some updates, not only from the Colorado State team, but also from others who are supporting meat processors across the U.S., as well as those processors or those supporting processors in the Mountain West region. So today's presentation will cover a couple of things. We'll get some updates from the CSU team related to the Mountain Meat Summit and the National Meat Summits. We'll also learn a little bit more about what the Meat Summit is if you haven't participated in it previously. We'll have some updates from the American Association of Meat Processors as well as the Flower Hill Institute about resources they have to support meat processors and grant applications that are due in a couple of months from now, actually. And then we'll finish the presentation with a wrap up around planning for the fall 2026 Mountain Meat Summit. I do want to take a moment, though, and introduce the CSU Mountain Meat Summit team. My name is Jennifer Martin, and I'm an associate professor and extension specialist in the Department of Animal Sciences at Colorado State University. And I work with a team here in the Department of Animal Sciences, as well as my colleagues in Extension. Libby and Martha are on the call today, so I'm not going to introduce them. I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, my name is Libby Christensen. I'm the statewide food and ag specialist with Colorado State University. I'm based in northwestern part of the state, currently calling in from Golden, but try and work with producers across the state to think about how we can leverage food and agriculture as a driver for community and economic development. I'll hand it over to Martha.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Martha Sullins. I'm a regional extension specialist in ag business management and food systems, and I focus a lot on tools and resources that can help producers better understand how to minimize risks and capitalize on emerging markets. So back to you, Jennifer.
Thanks, Libby and Martha. And we collectively are a part of the National Meat Summits Committee, and you'll hear a little bit about the National Meat Summits Committee, of which the Mountain Meat Summit is a part of here in a second. But we also support the Colorado Association of Meat Processors. And for those of you who may have been a part of or been a member of the Colorado Association of Meat Processors, historically, that association, prior to the pandemic, hosted annual convenings alongside the Wyoming Association of Meat Processors and have struggled since the pandemic to reorganize. And last year, the association in Colorado voted to separate from the association in Wyoming with the goal of reorganizing as a state-based association to reconvene meat processors around topics of interest from a technical perspective, as well as exploring market opportunities. And so, with that reorganization of the Colorado Association of Meat Processors, as well as the National Meat Summits Committee, we are working, and we'll talk a bit more about reconvening the Mountain Meat Summit yet again in 2026 to not only serve as a path to explore technical needs and provide technical assistance, but also explore market access and business development opportunities for our processors and producers in the Mountain West region. Some of you may recall that in 2020, oh, let me get my slide to go forward. There we go. That we've previously held a Mountain Meat Summit here in Colorado. And in the past, we joined that meat summit alongside the International Livestock Forum that was co-hosted with the National Western Stock Show. But the Mountain Meat Summit is part of a larger collaborative of national meat summits held across the United States. So we've held meat summits, or meat summits have been held in Montana, Iowa, Alabama, North Carolina. And the focus of the meat summits is to bridge connections and fill knowledge gaps across these local and regional meat supply chains and really leverage the national network of experts and processors to enhance knowledge and the ability to meet the growing demand for locally sourced high quality meat products. And so in collaboration with this larger Meat Summits Committee, as well as the desire to reorganize and grow the Colorado Association of Meat Processors, the 2026 Mountain Meat Summit was born. And we've really, I think, tried to reconvene around how we can best serve processors who are exploring perhaps a market that is brand new to them. Maybe they've recently opened or they've recently expanded, or those processors who are multi-generational, have been in the business for a long time, but also understand that there is a growing interest in local and regionally sourced meat products, as well as a need to diversify to maintain business continuity and sustainability. So the partnership that we have with the National Meat Summits Committee, as well as our commitment through the Colorado Association of Meat Processors, the commitment of CSU Extension, the meat extension team here at Colorado State University, really is to bring all of these parties together to develop a summit that serves the needs of processors in the Mountain West region. Not exclusively those in Colorado. I mentioned that we've previously held Colorado Association of Meat Processor meetings in collaboration with Wyoming. The Mountain Meat Summit was actually held a couple of years ago in Montana. So the processor network expands beyond the state of Colorado. And I think that's one of the really wonderful things around the National Meat Summits Committee is exploring and developing a national network of meat processors where we can learn from partners either in neighboring states or states elsewhere around improving our practices and processes within the Colorado and Mountain West community. Libby, Martha, do you want to share anything about the Mountain Meat Summit and the National Meat Summits Committee with the group today?
No, I think you covered it really well, Jennifer. I think, the value is really just being able to share all of this knowledge across our collective networks. And so it's been a really exciting group to work with, to be able to, I think, increase the caliber of speakers that we can bring to these regional summits. So we're excited to eventually hold our Mountain Meat Summit. We're hoping for this fall, and I guess we'll talk about that in a bit.
Thanks, Martha. I have to cough really quickly. Oh, sorry, my allergies are bothering me a bit today. If you're curious about learning more around the National Meat Summits and more information, and a great place to stay up to date on happenings and future plans for the Mountain Meat Summit, the QR code there on your screen, as well as Libby shared in the chat, the web link address for the Meat Summits. Again, a really great national network. The Mountain Meat Summit is part of that, and how we can leverage the collective expertise that is housed within Colorado and the Mountain West region and complement that with this national committee is something we're really excited about in the 2026 Meat Summit to be held later this fall. I'm going to turn the microphone, if you will, over for a second to Abby Davidson. Abby Davidson is the outreach specialist for the American Association of Meat Processors. And we asked Abby to join us today just to share a few updates on behalf of AMP. Their annual meeting is coming up later this summer, as well as other exciting projects that are happening within AMP. So Abby, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Martin. Good to see a lot of familiar faces on this call this Friday afternoon. Yeah, happy to talk about some updates that we're doing from both state and national levels. So if you don't know much about our organizations, we have about 1,700 members, and that includes any meat and poultry processors, do include slaughters, packers, processors, wholesalers, and then we also have members that are suppliers, retailers, deli and catering operators, and a lot more. So we have 30 state regional associations, affiliated associations, and CAMP is one of them. So certainly happy about that. Looking forward to hopefully in the future being able to come back in person and meet more people on site at conventions. So there's about 8 or 9 of us on staff, and we're a small group, but it seems like we are mighty. We are doing pretty well. Our convention is coming up. It's earlier than normal. It's in July. I believe it's the 8th through 11th. So right after the 4th of July, but typically it's usually towards the end of July, and we're looking forward to moving forward with an earlier convention in Milwaukee. I'm going to try and keep this brief. We are working on a lot of things from a national perspective. Just want to mention that, of course, Dr. Martin and some other folks on this call are from CSU. We just built student memberships now, so we now have that option. So if college kids want to be a part of AMP and have a membership with AMP, it's $20 a year. It's perfect for a broke student, right? So we did start those student memberships, and they are brand new. College students can sign up immediately. Some other things is we consistently have online training videos going. We have a lot online behind our paywall, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But we are working on a deer processing video training that's supposed to be coming this fall. We might announce it, so this is a little early, might announce it at our convention, but I do believe that it's going to be published this fall. A lot of our videos are also in English and Spanish. If you do have bilingual or another language speaking employee in your plant, then you can also train them with our website online videos. Nutrition facts panels is something we also do. We're able to calibrate those and get those sent out to either members or non-members. You don't have to be a member to be able to use our nutrition analysis services, but it is a lot cheaper if you do so. There has not been an update that we have heard about getting USDA's, is it 93 or 91's nutrition facts panels updated. So we still work with both the FDA nutrition facts panel as well as the USDA until they decide what they're going to do with that. A lot of people don't know what Nelson and I do. So Nelson Gatus, he's my counterpart. He's the other outreach specialist. Just want to mention that there's a lot that you can obtain from AMP as an AMP member. I will say that those AMP members that are on this call are probably going to say within the top 3 reasons to join AMP is the networking capability. It's strong. It's a small association, but it is mighty. For example, we had our treasurer basically give all his costing real numbers at a convention a month and a half, 2 months ago. It's just that there's a networking capability there, and the knowledge that you build and the relationships that you build being an AMP member, there's just nothing like it. We really help you focus on HACCP compliance. So we published our updated HACCP plans on our website, catered more to the current regulations and guidances. So they hadn't been updated from the 2021 Appendix A and B, or sorry, the previous A and B. So we did get those updated along with some other ways to really streamline the thought process behind HACCP plans. And if you are a member, if you aren't a member, first, let's talk about getting you on board and being a member. But we're happy to consult with HACCP plans and guidance in any way, shape, or form when you're coming up into struggles there. We also really help small processors for the most part work with their USDA or state guidelines. So if there's issues with some inspection services or just questions about what's happening, that's a lot of what I do is work with regulatory personnel and small plants to be able to move forward with a relationship that's positive for both parties. I do want to mention our internship opportunities again, just because this is a CSU backed discussion or hosted by CSU, is that we do have our internship opportunities. So most of the time it's college kids, and Nelson is our lead for this program. So if you have anybody on or any students that you know of, or maybe your own kids, and you can send them out to another meat processing facility and get them to intern for the summer, it's a really strong opportunity, and it seems to be a very, very, very phenomenal program that we have. Just some new industry updates that we're focusing about is the dyes in human food regulation. So of course we're gonna have to get rid of those certain dyes by the end of the year. So red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, blue 1, blue 2, and I think is it green number 3 maybe? And then I'm sure there's going to be more coming down the line there. So we are paying attention to dyes and want to make sure that we get documentation and guidance out when we need to about how to move forward with dyes and processes. One of the big ticket items that I've been working on for probably a year and a half is just really understanding the challenges with our meat processors across rendering deserts. So it sounds like nationwide there's some rendering deserts. There's some challenges with more or less monopolistic approach to get rid of organic waste disposal in their area. So we're trying to come together and work with USDA as well as some rendering companies to come up with a solution for how processors can dispose of the organic waste organic waste in general, and hopefully make a little bit more of a profit off of it. So that's a tried and true area, or really a big area that we are focusing on. Don't have a solution yet. It seems like we are moving forward in some ways and kind of getting set back in some other ways. So very, very much focused on that. And then also working with the North American Renders Association to see what we can do to bridge that gap. Just want to mention if you're an inspected facility that your retained water protocol should be in place by now. We have we have a template on our HACCP plan page that you can use as your retained water protocol. So probably should be doing that by now, and I'm happy to provide that to anybody. And then one of our big focuses is that our executive board just met in DC to speak with FSIS. And the whole goal behind that is just build relationships and make sure that we're known as an organization so that we can help you. I've heard previously that people don't become AMP members because it's kind of the big guys. It's for the big guys or something like that, but that's really not true. I work with small processors from 2 people to 20 people just across the country at their location. So we're really here for you, and we want to make sure that you can build a successful business and make some money while doing it. Our board was just in DC a couple of weeks ago, and we did speak on rendering. Also, if you send in your special claims, those label approvals, we're trying to figure out how we can bridge the gap and speed up those approval timelines, and trying to find a way to move forward there. Yeah, so I think that's really just the majority of it. I know Dr. Martin, you said 5 or 10 minutes. I don't want to I don't want to take up the whole time. But I do want to say that our convention, like I said, is July 9th through 11th. It's in Milwaukee this year. We have some phenomenal folks and networking opportunities and learning experiences lined up. One of those includes the UW Humane Handling Institute. So if you're attending both, I think it's a Thursday and a Friday workshop, you can walk away with a humane handling certificate, which is amazing. We're also having a Thursday night social event at the Discovery World. So if you know what that is in Milwaukee, that should be a fun time. Very good way to meet some new people and network. This is the largest trade show we've ever had. I don't have the numbers right now. Nikki Cloud, our convention manager, would, but it is going to be the largest trade show. There's kids activities, there's a youth ambassador program. There's just a lot to be involved in, and Milwaukee should be a really good time. Just want to speak to, and I apologize if this sounds like a sales pitch, it's not, but I just want to say that we really strongly believe in what we do. If you're not an AMP member and you want to become one, if you buy any piece of equipment or raw material from a supplier that is an AMP member, you can get a year of membership for free. So I just want to push that, just that we really believe in what we do, whether it's our Choice Cuts weekly newsletter or networking capabilities or whatever. It's really just a strong program there. So I think that's the most of it. We really just are looking forward to continuing to help our industry. We're small, but we are mighty, and when we get together, our voices really are heard. So I think that's probably all I'm going to cover today. There's a lot more, I'm sure, but that's a good overview. So perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. And I also just want to plug, there's a lot going on, a lot of opportunity, a lot of change, and perhaps some challenge in the small and mid-sized processing community. And just want to reiterate the support that AMP provides across not only the technical spectrum, but also making sure that as change happens, there's a space where you can go to seek fact-based information to help navigate change, whether it's policy changes or practice change. And a really good example of that, I think, is something that we have heard consistently from our small processor community for the past several years around the challenge in accessing rendering services. And the conversation that Abby has spearheaded alongside the North American Rendering Association, as well as some of those key renderers who are part of that association, I think really will highlight the opportunities that we have collectively to find a solution for this challenge. But one of the things that we're interested in seeking from you all today, and Libby has a poll relative to rendering needs that she's going to queue up for us, but in understanding what the needs are. And so we know what the rendering opportunities are, but we really need help kind of articulating, not only for us from a Mountain Meat Summit planning perspective, but as we engage more collaboratively with the North American Rendering Association, with those renderers themselves, what needs our small processing community has relative to rendering. Are the challenges related to geographic location? Is it price-based, et cetera? We're really trying to unpack some of the gap and the access and hopefully identify some solutions alongside those rendering industry partners. So I'm going to give maybe a minute or two, or maybe just a minute for you to all to answer those questions before we move on. I just want to thank you, Abby, for your leadership and spearheading that conversation. I'm optimistic that we can find some solutions that serve our small processor communities. We'll take about 30 more seconds to let you all complete the poll. All right, let's move on to our next topic. And as mentioned, there are lots of changes within the meat processing landscape. And I think one of the biggest opportunities within the meat processing landscape is opportunities for grant support, technical assistance, and specifically one that is coming up soon is the meat and poultry processing expansion program and the grants they provide to serve small and mid-sized processors. So we have joining us on the call today, Dave Carter, who is the Regional Director of the Meat and Poultry Processing Technical Assistance Network for Flower Hill Institute. And Dave, I just wanted to know if you would share a few updates around the services Flower Hill provides and specifically highlight the webinar that you all are hosting next week relative to the MPEP grants due in August.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Martin, and welcome everybody. So Flower Hill Institute, just as background, is an indigenous-led nonprofit based on the Jemez Pueblo in New Mexico. But we have a cooperative agreement with USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service to coordinate the network of organizations that AMS brought together about 3 years ago to provide no-cost technical assistance for smaller meat and poultry processors. And it's a very robust network. Abby Davidson is a key part of it. AMP has been a big part of our network, as well as American Meat Science Association, niche meat processors, and others. So we provide, again, no cost. We work with folks to identify and find federal funding opportunities. We provide technical assistance on designing and developing your facilities, business planning assistance, and assistance for supply chain management. And this issue of rendering and byproduct utilization is a key one that we're up to our eyebrows in right now. As Dr. Martin mentioned, there is a grant that's out. It's the Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion version 4. If you thought you were asleep and missed version 3, no, you didn't. That was sort of a one-off that was for invasive catfish in the Chesapeake Bay area, and I won't go into why USDA is involved in catfish. But MPEP 4, they have $60 million allocated for this grant. Now, half of the pot is for what USDA is calling intermediate size processors, those that are between 500 and 3,999 employees. And then the rest of it, the other $30 million, is for small and smaller, very small meat processors. Now, here's the thing, is the eligibility on this is there's some caveats here. So the first thing to do is say, okay, am I eligible? And there's 4 criteria. First is you have to be processing beef. Doesn't have to be the primary thing you're processing, but you have to be a primary processor of beef. And that means, secondly, that you have to slaughter, bone, package the meat to be eligible. Now, you also have to be operating under a USDA FSIS grant of inspection and to have been in business for at least a year. You don't have to have your grant of inspection for at least a year, but you have to be operating for at least a year. And then the fourth caveat is that if you have an open grant, an MPIRG, and a previous MPEP, an MCAP grant, you're not eligible for this one. If you have one of those grants and it's closed out, you are eligible. Now, that being said, and even though it's only folks that are doing processing of beef that are eligible, the focus on this grant is primarily for equipment expansion. So there's 2 buckets that you can look at. One is the further processing expansion project, which is between $250,000 and $2 million with a 50% cost share requirement. And this can be used for equipment. It could be used for some changes inside your building if you need to move some walls, do some reconfiguration, some improvements. You can't break ground with this fund. You can't do new construction. However, you can bring in coolers. You can bring in a modular processing unit and attach it to your facility if you have a concrete slab out there. So there's some things that you can do with this. The other one is sort of it's kind of follows after the MCAP grant, but it's a simplified equipment only grant. And that one is up to $250,000 with only a 25% match. Now, on any of these grants, when you're talking about equipment, remember what you want to be looking at is the acquisition costs. It's not just the price they have out of their catalog or online, it's what does it take to get that in place, and the grant will cover that. The shipping, the installation, if you need to redo some electrical, that can all be covered under the grant. So those are the two buckets. USDA has got a webinar that they are putting on next on June 16th. And so they will be providing some information on that. And then we are available to provide technical assistance. We can't write the grant for you, but we can sure help you along if you're looking to put in an application. And if you're not in our network, I'm going to drop in here. Let's see. Let me just see if I can get it to everybody here. This is a form that will you can just send to us for technical assistance. Or if you want to just contact me directly, my email is dcarter@flowerhill.institute. dcarter@flowerhill.institute. The application, this grant, the deadline on it is August 7th. So you've got a little bit of time, but time moves quickly when grants come. And if you don't have a SAMS number yet, that's something you need to do as soon as you get off of this session, because that is something that can take some time. You don't want to be trying to get a SAMS number and get your cage code and everything the day before the grant is due. So please reach out to us. We will provide you assistance in developing your application. We will even review your application if you'll get it to us sometime before the night before it's due. So I think that's it on MPEP. But we're also, there are other grants that come up from time to time. So just submit us that request for technical assistance. That will get you into our database to receive our newsletter, to get notifications on grants coming up and other information. So I appreciate it, Dr.
Thank
Martin.
you, Dave. And I would just plug, do sign up for that. The newsletters that come out are super helpful. If there are additional webinars, whether those are technical in nature or relative to funding, hosted either by Flower Hill or USDA, there's a lot of really valuable resources that come out of Dave's shop. So even if you're not in the need currently for technical assistance, if you're not signed up for those newsletters, they're really valuable sources of information. In the space of federal funding, we've been really fortunate over the past several years to have some fairly significant investments from the federal administration and expansion of the meat processing capacity for small and mid-sized processors. And we've been really fortunate around the Mountain West region to have many processors who have successfully received funding to help support or expand their meat processing operations. So Libby's going to share another poll asking you all if you have received funding, and would you benefit if you're interested in funding, or would you value rather learning more about the experience of engaging with federal funding, the experience of participating in a federal funding program, submitting a grant, et cetera. We have a network of processors who've been successful, looking to expand that network, as well as utilize that network to share best practices and experiences of those who are going through either the proposal development or on the other side of successfully submitting a proposal, engaging with federal funding partners to actually fulfill the objectives of your proposal. So we'll give about 30 seconds to let folks participate in that poll, and then we'll talk a bit more about the Mountain Meat Summit for 2026. Okay, that's given about a minute of time for folks to participate in that poll. Being mindful of your time, and again, we're so grateful that you're spending some time with us this afternoon to talk about some of the top of mind issues and opportunities in the meat processing supply chain, specifically for our small and mid-sized processors, but also explore what a 2026 Mountain Meat Summit needs to look like to best support the processing community along the Mountain West region. One of the things that we have heard resoundingly from our processing network is topics that support the workforce. So we're going to ask you a series of poll questions. We're also going to distribute a survey to really have you inform what the topics of the meat process or the Mountain Meat Summit will look like. So thinking about your employees, what kind of training might benefit your employees best from your management team's perspective? What support tools or trainings could you use or your management team use? And what strategies and or resources would you like to learn more about? And we are again planning to host in partnership with the Colorado Association of Meat Processors and that National Meat Summits Committee, Mountain Meat Summit in the fall of 2026. And we've tentatively identified the dates of November 13th and 14th for this Meat Summit. But going into that, we have some questions for you, specifically around the timing of the event. And again, what topics or hands-on activities are most important to you, top of mind, or concerns or challenges that you think would be helpful if we addressed in this? And leading up to the Mountain Meat Summit in later fall, is there an interest in webinars for topics that may be addressed outside of a proper convention or a proper meeting that you are seeking more quick access to information or more quick access to resources to support your discussions within your processing communities on certain topics? So the series of survey and poll questions that Libby will share with you all will help us best inform what the Mountain Meat Summit will look like, both from a timing perspective as well as a content perspective. And is there an opportunity or a need before November to engage via a webinar in sharing information or resources around some of these topics? So we're going to give some space and time. Libby, I think you said you're submitting the additional questions in a survey form as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'll make sure to send it out to everybody
Okay.
that had registered for the Zoom call, in addition to the folks that are here right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And again, we just want to thank you all for joining us this afternoon, for your role in the northern or in the mountain meat supply chain and the northern Colorado and western state supply chain. And as we look forward to serving this community from a technical perspective, from identifying opportunities for enhancing access to resources or markets, we really value your feedback. And so either in the poll today or when you receive the survey, please do share what topics are top of mind with you, how we can best serve and make sure that the 2026 Mountain Meat Summit meets the need of our processing communities and helps to explore and expand broader networks and access to resources. So thank you for your time. We'll stay on the line if there are any additional comments, questions, but we will also share this recording for those folks who are unable to join or would like to access the resources after we hop off today's meeting. But thanks for your time on a Friday afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you in the fall later this year.
And I also know that there are a number of technical assistance partners from across our region on the call. So I think it's also this opportunity, if there's any upcoming events or trainings or resources that you all would like to share, please feel free to come off mute or place those on the chat, and we'll be sure to share those out with everybody that was registered for this conversation.
Thanks, Libby. And thank you again to Abby and Dave for sharing the resources from AMP and Flower Hill. And again, if you're not yet a member of AMP, or if you've not yet signed up for technical assistance or to receive the newsletter from Flower Hill, I would encourage you to do so. A tremendous amount of resources, also access to a larger national network and a larger set of experts that can offer technical assistance are housed in both of those organizations. So really valuable assets, and we're really grateful for their time this afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining. Make sure you fill out the poll and complete the survey once you receive it. We'll be on the lookout for a recording of today's presentation as well.